I saw this Starfield review, and it was like, I was thinking like, there's not a game that I want to play less than the Starfield game. And it's like, I barely wanted to play Skyrim when that came out, and I never played it. But the idea of a massive, mostly AI generated world, I mean, to be honest, I don't really want to explore planets in general in real life. Like, I wouldn't want to explore real planets. Why am I saying that? Well, there's nothing there. And I'm thinking about, there's so many times where technological advancement makes video games as a medium worse. And I guess I can think of like 3 right off the bat. So I was playing Mario 3D World, and I realized that it wasn't actually fun. Like, I remember on 4chan people were saying that 3D World is like the best Mario. It's actually like the worst. It's so boring and easy. And I was playing Mario 3, an NES game, a game that you could program on a fucking TI. I don't know. You obviously you can't do that, but an NES, you know, you can fucking build an NES with a Raspberry Pi, okay? Like, and the game is better. Like, it's the fact that it's in 2 planes makes dodging enemies like so rhythmic and challenging, and there's a mode you enter when you play Mario 3 that you don't ever enter when you play Mario 3D World, because it's just the amount of time between anything exciting in 3D World is so long, because you're just constantly, the space is bigger, the rooms that you're in 3D World are so large. Even though the game looks like tight, right? Because it's the tight 3D Mario, it's not tight. It can't possibly be tight. The size of an enemy and its hurt boxes are always going to be so small when you make it a 3D space. So I got so bored that I stopped playing 3D World. I'm probably gonna go back to playing Mario 3. That's not the only thing though. The disc size that everybody said was like so great for the PS1 versus the N64. Yeah, that's great and all, but the sound fonts that you had to use for the N64 are some of my favorite sounds in the world. And yeah, you could just say that's because of nostalgia, but if the N64 was a disc-based gaming system, they wouldn't have used those sound fonts. And that's more just something I appreciate. That's not really, because obviously great music exists in new games, so that's really just a personal preference that I like sound fonts. And you can obviously use sound fonts in new games, but it's just like, it's one of those things that I'm glad that the N64 used cartridges, because if it didn't, the sound fonts in Mario 64 and Majora's Mask, they just never would have existed. The main thing though, and what I'm most concerned about, is the ability for programmers and game developers to just use power to bypass good game design. Because like, you can make all these AI generated planets and AI generated landscapes, and that's not interesting. I want, in a game like Ocarina of Time, it's a lot of times is more fun than something like Tears of the Kingdom, where the world is just so big, it's so empty. Like, why do people want big ass worlds? Like, that seems weird to me. Like, imagine a different domain, right? Like a movie, right? Imagine if a movie director said, "This is the longest movie ever made." Like, I don't want to watch the longest movie ever made. That sounds horrible. I don't want to watch a 15-hour movie where most of it is boring. Like, that mind, like, people, I think in the Xbox 360 era, people got horny for like the largest game ever made. And then when Skyrim and GTA came out in like 2011 and 2013, Skyrim and GTA 5, people liked those games, and there was a lot of content and stuff. When I played GTA 5, I got bored because I didn't know how to play it, and I just went to like the empty spots, and I didn't know what to do. And people just generally thought like, we need more bigger games. But that fatigue is really starting to come in. And you know, Tears of the Kingdom, when that game came out, people liked it a lot because of the shrine puzzles, but no one liked exploring Hyrule again. They just skipped it. They went to a tower, they flew really high up, and they just glided to all the spots. No one explored Hyrule a second time because there's nothing in it. It's lame. Hyrule is lame when it's that big. When Hyrule was literally a small field in Ocarina of Time, I remember exploring every fucking hole in that field in Ocarina of Time. I remember exploring the islands in Phantom Hourglass. Obviously, like A Link to the Past, A Link Between Worlds, like small, condensed world is so great. And I love Link Awakening's island. Like, these are small, condensed worlds, and they're so fun to explore. There's no point to explore a big world where there's nothing in it. And you can't, there's always this developer that promises, I'm gonna make a big world where there's lots of stuff to do. You're lying. You can't do that. That's not possible. It's not possible because you're not obviously intended to explore all of it, so the same rewards are gonna be spread out all over the map. I don't, honestly, like, people didn't even like Elden Ring. People will say they liked Elden Ring, but what they really liked was they just liked Dark Souls combat. But when it came to exploring, the moment people got to Liurnia the Lake, people were like, wanted to drop the game. I remember I felt that way, my friend felt that way, because Limgrave is like refreshing and cool because it's kind of a smallish open world and there's a lot to do. But the moment you get to Liurnia the Lake, you just came out of a great, well-designed linear dungeon, and now you're back to the parking lot. You're back to parking lot land. People don't like parking lot land. They don't. They want, the moment they got to Liurnia the Lake, they thought, man, I just want to play Dark Souls again. And the dungeon in Liurnia the Lake was underwhelming. Then you get to the yellow area, and it's like, man, this fucking sucks. I dropped it. I dropped Elden Ring. Yeah, games are just too big, too long. They're too boring. People are longing for fucking Ocarina of Time again, which is just like, that should be the next Zelda project, but that should just be the next project for all these devs, is make smaller worlds with really great writing and characters and missions and content, and just make the game shorter. Just make a shorter game. Make a shorter game, make a smaller game, and make them better. Because, like, again, if this was with any other medium, no one would be interested. No one wants to read the biggest book ever. The biggest book ever written. The longest movie ever made. Like, no one's interested in that. People, in fact, people don't watch One Piece because of how long it is. Because it's like the show that you can't binge without starving to death. People, I just watched Breaking Bad. I really liked that it was 5 seasons. Because I knew I'm gonna be into this show for 3 weeks and then it's gonna be over. I wouldn't watch Breaking Bad if it was fucking 22 seasons. There are shows like Grey's Anatomy that my wife likes, and it's like 22 seasons. Like, you can't tell me that you're going to be committed to great storytelling for 22 seasons of a show. Like, that's not possible. People, just things, just art, are meant to stop. They're meant to die. They're meant to cease. Because, like, or else you become like Radiohead. And every album you release after In Rainbows is just worse and worse and worse. And it gets worse. And it's kind of like, it's the same thing happened to Eminem. He became the rap god, and all of his, like, ever since he became the rap god, all of his shit just sucks. And it's like, I'm almost glad that XXXTentacion died. I'm glad he got shot, because, like, I was starting to see that X's music was becoming lame and crap, but he got killed. So, like, luckily, I didn't have to witness him becoming a little mopey Drake, you know, I'm so sad, oh my god, oh my god. It happens to everybody. It has to happen. It has to happen that your art becomes lame and dumb. It has to. It'll eventually happen to Sam Hyde, just because he is gonna. In fact, it's already started to happen. I was totally uninterested in Fish Tank. I hope that the sketches he makes for World Peace 2 are good, but I've heard everything he has to say. I don't watch his streams anymore. I've heard what he has to say. I'm not interested in him anymore. It's the same advice, same you know, Manosphere advice. I've heard it. It's great. It's fun, but at some point, there's no such thing as an artist whose magnum opus is when he's like, you know, 90 years old. People like that. People That's so crazy. People act like Beethoven's Ninth Symphony is good. It's really not that good. It's not. It's boring. He was an old fart when he wrote that. People have such tinted lenses when it comes to like ancient people, and they act like the fatigue doesn't work on them too. No, they were fatigued as fuck. Beethoven's Ninth is not that interesting. It's lame. And retroactively, it's been used for just like horrible Christmas family comedies since like the 90s for trailers. Well, anyway, so my original point was just like technological advancement is like ruining video games. It's not really technological advancement. It's more just like what game devs think that people want. It's just totally skewed. There's a really good meme of like Sonic or some, I think it's like someone's furry OC that's like, I want smaller games with worse graphics and devs that are paid more. I don't know, it's like a socialist meme, but there's truth in it in that people do want shorter games. They don't want worse graphics, but if you make shorter games that are more packed with content with smaller worlds, the graphics would be like way better. They'd be way better. So you wouldn't even have to worry about that. Who wants to play like one game for a million years? I mean, that's so crazy to me. But I mean, like, I guess, you know, like Minecraft. But the reason those games live so long is because of community-driven content. That's a totally different beast than like a single-player RPG like Starfield, where it's just boring and bad. Anyway, I hope my wife watches this. She's like my biggest fan. I hope my friend watches this. My friend Max, I hope he watches this. I hope my YouTube fans watch this too. That'd be cool.